Hi everyone, this is my first video back since my FND diagnosis and my speech has improved quite a lot, so much so that I thought it was time to get back into making my crochet tutorials. So for anyone who's new, I'm Cass and this is Cass K Crochet. So when we left off, I was about to teach you how to design your own handbag, and I thought that would be a perfect spot to pick up. So for this crochet tutorial, you do have a few options with how you wanted to do things. Okay, so I've got some tools just there for what I'm going to be using. So the first option you have when you make your own crochet bag is what kind of handle you'd like. So here I have a pre-made handle. I just bought this for a couple of dollars off eBay. It's quite cute. I liked the sort of dark timber. It's very lightweight. The total length of this is 25 centimeters. That's from this end through to this end, so that's about how wide we'd like to aim to have the bag, but the width of the bag is completely up to you. You don't have to have a pre-made handle either. You can make your own handle, and I will give you instructions for that and show you some examples of the different handles that I have made for the many bags I've made. I haven't decided on what kind of closure I'd like for my bag, so there's a lot of options. You can do anything from buttons through to zippers, through to magnets. You don't have to have a particular closure if you don't want to. It's all really up to you. But since I'm going to break this tutorial up into a few parts, we've still got some time to make a decision. As you can tell, I've still got this stutter, so we're going to take it nice and slow. So the next decision you need to make is what kind of yarn you'd like to use. Now for bags, I recommend acrylic or wool, just because there's quite a bit of stretch and the color options are so varied. And I do recommend a variegated yarn, so that's basically one that changes the color all by itself, so you're not sort of chopping and changing to change your colors around. So I'll be using this yarn, which is called Happy Toes, which is a Hobbii yarn. This is available from their point store. They do have this available for sale. It's called Silly Socks, and you do get twice the amount. So the points yarn, I think we've got to 200 millimeters worth. The Silly Socks does come in the same color, and there's a couple more color options as well. You could get to double the amount. So, but basically, these two were rolled into one. The reason why I've got two here is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to double strand my yarn. Basically, it's just the reason for doing that is you can see that this is quite fine, as it is designed to be a sock yarn, and if I double strand it, it just means we're going to have double the color. So you can see the white and the red will be going at the same time. So it's just going to be an explosion of rainbow, much like the background I've got here. So Well, one of these balls on its own calls for a 2.5mm hook. So since I'm going to double, you'd normally round up to approximately double. I'm going a little smaller and using a 3.5mm hook. So hopefully you can see that with my beautiful tulip hooks. As well as that, you will need a stitch marker since I'm breaking this up into a few sections. So here is a stitch marker that I've made pretty recently. Come join me on my Facebook group, Yarn Lovers Creative Corner, as I've made an exclusive video on that channel just on how to make your own stitch markers from some really basic tools and cheap materials. So quite often the stitch markers you can make yourself are going to be so much prettier than the ones you can buy in store. Anyway, so now that all the housekeeping stuff is taken care of, let's get started with the base of our bag. Right, so basically the way to start off your bag is to start by doing a chain. If you're not familiar with a chain or you're new to crochet, I suggest jumping back a few videos where I show you all of the crochet sort of how-tos, all of the basic stitches. There's some basic patterns and the bits and pieces to get you started. So the way that I'm going to make this, I'll be consisting of single crochet, double crochet, and probably some front post double crochet. But because if you've stuck around my channel for a little bit, you'll know that I absolutely love the waffle pattern. So the length of your chain will depend on how wide you want your bag to be. So I will probably be aiming for about this length, so just the open section, but because then we'll be doing single crochets to expand it out a little. So let's get started on our chain. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And you'll just see just something to be careful of if you do just decide to double strand your yarn, is just to be cautious of picking up both threads. So I've got 20 so far, and so we're sitting about that, so probably need another 20. So let's get 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. Okay, so that looks about the right width. And you can see already with the color changing yarn, you've already got a bit of a variety of color here. So now that we've done our chain, we'll get into the next section. Okay, now what we need to do, just to keep our stitches properly marked and to make sure that we've got our correct count, let's do a quick double check that we've still got our count of 40. So we've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. All right, so the very last stitch here is our 40th stitch, and what we need to do is put a stitch marker into that, and I'm about to show you why, because you're probably thinking, what do you mean put a stitch marker in that? Trust me. This is a pro tip for any time you need to do long chains. Okay, so now we're starting on our base proper. Let me unravel a little bit of yarn. Oh, look at that green, red and green. I love red and green together. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to chain an additional 2. So 1, oh, don't lose it, 2. But then in our marked stitch right here, we want to do 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. Okay, so keep your stitch marker in there because it is important that we know exactly where that stitch is. Now, in every single stitch down the line, we're going to do a single crochet. So I'll just do a couple to get us started. So I've got 1. To just make sure, but because if you did double strand it like me, you can tell my motor functions a little off. That's just a symptom of the FND, so it's nothing to worry about. It's just that fine motor work can be a little bit tricky for me from time to time, but I find that crochet is immensely helpful. So we're doing a single crochet in every single chain all the way down to the end, and when we get to that one on the end, just pause and I will meet you there, because we're going to do something special into that bottom stitch. Okay, welcome back, and now we're at the end of our row through the power of film magic. Okay, so we've done right into the end our chain 2, which, so sorry, that's all flipped over, our chain 2, which counts as a single crochet, and then 2 single crochets into that same end marked stitch, and we've done 1 single crochet into every stitch, every chain space all the way down until we've reached our very first chain. So since mine is for 40 stitches long, I will have 42 stitches done so far. This will vary depending on the width of your bag, so do keep count. Okay, now in this very first chain space, we're going to do 5 single crochet. Okay, so but bear with me here, that there's a reason for my madness. So we've got 1, 2, and you just do take care because it may get a little tight. Sorry, 2, 3, and your tail, just hold him down while you're doing this. 4 and 5. Okay, so but basically you can see there that actually will make up our corner, and if you do hold the tail now as you work one single crochet again into every chain space down the row. That'll just tuck your ends in nice and neatly, and there'll be no need for tying in for further ends because that's such a pain in the butt. Okay, so now for in every chain on the opposite side, we're doing one single crochet. So I'm getting started, and I will meet you down at the end of the row, where just before our marked stitch. So we'll be working into our marked stitch at the end, but I just want you to work to the end and stop to just before you hit that one. All right, I'll see you in a minute. All right, and now that we're all the way back at the end, where our first stitch marker is, we want to pull that stitch marker out, and in our end stitch we want to do 2 single crochets. So you see that the end chain space on both ends has 5 single crochets in it, and then you just want to do a slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 you did in the previous row, and that is the beginning of our base done. So now we're going on to the second row, and this second row will be basically the same basically as big as you want your base to be. So we'll start with a chain 2, which counts as a single crochet. In the next stitch we do 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and in the next stitch we will also do 2 single crochets. So but basically in the 5 stitches you've done at the end of each row, in the middle you want 1 stitch, and then in the next 2 you want 2 single crochets into each of those, and then all the way down until you reach those bottom 5, you'll just do 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then you just want to make that as big as you want your base to be. I would recommend you probably will want to do at least for 4 to 5 rows. That just gives the bottom of your bag some stability, and it will make it a lot nicer. So as well as being more stable, you can see the way the colors are kind of mishmashing together so far, but it will basically prevent anything from falling out of the bag that you make, and so that nice firm base while having a bit of stretch also gives it added security. So that's where we are on our first little lesson, and we will pick this up hopefully in about a week. I can show you what the completed base is like, and then we can get started on the body. I hope you enjoyed that lesson, and I really hope to see you again as I said, in about a week, and we can continue this journey of making a crochet bag together. Again, if you're unfamiliar with any of the stitches or terms that I've used, please feel free to jump back into any of my previous tutorials, but because I explain each of the stitches in detail there. And if you want to get any practice on any stitches that I've done, please feel free to do that before you give this a go, because you just want to make sure that you've got all of your basics under control before we start getting into the tricky parts. I hope you've enjoyed this very much, and yeah, it's great to be back. So have a great few days, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye bye.